So let's start up Julia. Normally I put Julia in my path, so I could just type it like this. And what I find useful here is that you get some information at the beginning to get started. So what I like about this compared to a large integrated development environment, I recently used an integrated development environment for Smalltalk, for instance. I've been quite a fan of Smalltalk, particularly for the integrated development environments. But some of these environments are so complex that when you start it, you don't even know where to begin, and you have to watch all these videos to see how it works. So for instance here, you got some pretty simple starting points. You can see here that I can go to this link, and here's the cool thing about using iterm2. iterm2 has this kind of regular expressions that you can register so that it can identify different things in the text. If I hold down the command key, I can click on things. And you can notice that this works for all sorts of other links. You can see here. This gets you to the Julia homepage. And there's some other information here. We can see that if we type the question mark, we can get help. So let's try that. I type the question mark. Now you don't see it pop up, but you can see that we changed the mode here. So now we're in help mode. Julia has a bunch of modes. So if I hit backspace, you can see I'm back in Julia mode, and this is where I can write Julia code. So here's some examples of writing some Julia code. And what you see is this is what we called a read, evaluate, program loop. So we call this a REPL for short. So the idea here is that I type something, it reads it, and evaluates it. So we see the result evaluated and printed. And then it loops, so it starts over again. Now let's look at the help system. I can hit enter and I can get help. So here you can see it helps us like find out where we can get this help. And again, I can hold down my command key and I can click that if I want to look at that. And we have some different things that we can search for. So one of the things that's interesting in Julia is that you can use these Unicode or Greek letters and symbols. Julia is used a lot for research, science, and math. So it's easy to take some mathematical equations and write something that looks a lot like math in the code. It makes it quite easy to do a lot of these things. So I can give you an example of how that works. If I hit backslash, I can write things that are typically possible to do in LaTeX. So theta in LaTeX, that's a Greek letter. I can hit tab and you can see it completes that. So this also works for, say, pi. We can use the in symbol, say not in. What else can we do? Square root, and so on. Let's see, we can also do the Euler's number, for instance. Anyway, what it shows is that if we want to have help on something, we get in help mode, and then we can type the function, say cosine, like this. But if you want to get help on it, you can do like that. So here's the interesting thing about the help system. I can do, say, an expression like that, but I can use expressions in the help system. If you wonder how do I actually jump back and forth in any here, I'm using standard Unix readline convention, so that's Control E at the end and Control A at the beginning. These kind of things are kind of useful to know when you're working a lot with the terminal. Now, why might this be useful to be able to write expressions? Well, let me show you if I do the help for the multiplication operator. You can see there's lots of different ways you can use that. Julia, you use that for concatenation, for instance, and you can, of course, use it for numbers, using it with matrices. So there's a lot of different variations. You might not want to read about every possible way that you can use it. There might be just one particular way you're interested. So if I want to do a multiplication like this, and I want to find out what does that do, I can go in help mode, and you can see that this just explains how you use it in relation to numbers. Now, if instead I wrote, say, hello world, this concatenates those two, and I want to find out more information about that, I can go into help mode, and you can see that I get, in this case, I'm going to get the information. I should get a little bit more of the information that I want, I guess. We can use this to look up, for instance, print line. What's nice with the Julia documentation is that you get all sorts of examples that you can use. And it's pretty easy to pick an example. So say I want to have this one. Julia actually filters out automatically that I have Julia in there. So if I just paste that, I forgot to, okay, copy, paste, you can see that it filters it out. So it's easy to do. Try examples that you find online. You can just copy it. You don't have to make sure that you're not including this part, for instance. And often I want to clear the screen. Most terminals have some way of doing it. On the Mac, you typically hold on Command and then hit K, and then you can clear it.